prepared to have any questions.
And the communities that on behalf of the coalition, I want to bring you this basket and for your support. The main reason why this coalition is successful is because we have the 5 cities. Last 2 years, budget we $1,000. 5 cities give $1,000, which makes 5,000. The Weber Human Services matches that with 5,000. State have $10,000 worth of matching funds from the state that we're still waiting to get. We didn't get them this year because of COVID. You know, our programs have been fairly, but well, hopefully, oh, Bryce?
Yeah, yeah. Maybe right there on the.
Comes to our community board meetings and it's taken a while.
That's who we owe favors.
Thanks. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm.
Be on time. Yep.
Well, that's.
We have a quorum.
Oh, yeah. Be-
Seven.
Yeah, we're not going to.
Bids or just one bid from each source? Okay.
Okay, so on the historical markers, it is less than 25,000, so we didn't have to have multiple bids because the wrap for that was 12,000. And the only place I could really find is similar to the Roy ones. I don't know if you noticed them, I'm down 6,000. So, and they are not in Utah, they're actually in Ohio, but it's the only place I could really find it was in Illinois. So you have that in your packet, it's the Sewer Studios. And I don't have an exact price. I based it on approximately $3,000. Depends on how many words you have on the marker. It might vary how much each marker is going to be. So we'll get together and decide where we want to put those. Wayne Haas has been doing a lot of history and bringing history that he can help if we wanted to. So any questions on that? No, we haven't decided on them, and so we need to. You know, my thinking was let's have them be close enough that people can drive easily. Like we have Sophie's Well, some of those places, but I don't know when we would really ever drive. So my thoughts were more like the first school, the first post office, maybe the first church, even Humboldt Park, because we have President Reagan. You know, maybe places locally. But we're giving it some thought. So because we haven't received the money, but we will receive the money. They just haven't sent us a check.
So you're thinking Carson's Cross would not be.
Not too
What do you think?
convenient, not too convenient.
A little hard to get to.
Okay.
But they are allowing foot traffic out there.
But they are allowing
So if you're,
How are they getting there?
And
the lake's so low. Walk
Oh, they're
out
walking
there.
across?
6.5 miles.
they're also in the general plan, we're looking towards getting some kind of a canoe spot that they can go over from Hooper over there. And the state's all for that.
I think that'd be fun.
So, yeah.
You have to dredge a little. Kayak across there. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Okay, so the next one is the major
Isn't their original person, huh?
not the original person, which made me a little bit curious of why they wouldn't go back to their original. But because they had done West Haven and they're within budget and Roy's, and then now they're doing it, I felt very confident about them. Plus, they added in a little extra for lights. I had the electrician go out and look at the lights and keep that light, they were quite adequate, and they added a little bit extra for lights. So I don't know if you have any questions. One thing about parking is they said, they do a lot of things with schools, that if you can get this approved, you could possibly, even if they could get started on us, either maybe May, we wouldn't have to wait until the fall, and then something said it would be probably later. So, any questions on parking? And it seems really pretty comprehensive, because one thing I really liked about them too is they actually included money in to like remove the sod and the dirt. We know there are some things that the city will have to do, either our labor or we want guys can't do it, we don't end up hiring some of the home to do it away. But I felt pretty good about what they included, and the other they didn't include any of that. Like they gave us the bid, but we would have had to do extra on top of having any of that. You know what, we can still discuss that.
We still need to do that.
Yeah.
All this is saying is, yes, Parkman, we will go with you to the bid, but then it probably would be a bad idea, maybe even came to maybe the next city council and brought their, their bid, and we probably looked through what was for the pickleball courts, 4 pickleball courts, 2 basketball courts, there's 6 hoops. It has fence all the way around it, and
So before, yeah,
That, would that fluctuate?
we talked about somebody for the grant 4, but then we was hoping maybe 6 or more, just because parks with 4 right now, if you go to a park with 4 to play, they're packed. It's almost, it's just, the minute those go in, they'll be just.
We wondered about the popularity of basketball versus pickleball. Having at least one basketball court.
and they're not too close side, the way they are is they're side to side, but probably between the two of them, they are one full one. But the way that they do the nets actually allows that there to be more of the frame.
So you could actually have
6 nets.
3, actually have 3 courts running it, or 2 courts, or, yeah.
Yeah, we just wondered.
Well,
2 was totally the sideline.
You know what, that's what we applied for in the grant, you may know better than I do. We applied for that grant add-on.
Well, as long as you get approved, I don't think there's any problem. You're not changing the whole dynamics. You're just saying we may want 1 basketball and 6.
so, because I think, and I talked with Ryan just briefly, but and we also set aside $200,000 for the budget towards that, and so the grant coming, I guess my recommendation would be exploring the demand and
Didn't we discuss, this was the starting point, and then if we could, we would add more on later, so I thought that's what the discussion was.
park the one night, but
Yeah, and where we submit, and I don't know, this is set in stone either, but for the grant, then they were down here on here where the police are around here, and then the road department's down. They were down there because it just would end when they eliminated on soccer field. So then it didn't interfere with that soccer fields, any of these upper, and it's along 4600, which is a little less busier road for traffic coming in and out for that adjoining parking lot. It'd be right down here, right up right next to the road.
So maybe the company could bring us a couple scenarios of how they would lay it out, next council meeting or something. Just say,
yeah, I think if we
A,
set
B, and C, what do you like?
aside down the road, then that's not a bad thing either.
Yeah.
We hate to put a little spot and then find out the demand's so big, and then we're like, all right, now what do we do?
Yep.
You may want to have them in another location.
though, like where people come and play? I mean, so like West Haven, you go to West Haven at 6:30 during the summer and all 8 courts are packed and people are waiting to rotate in. And so there's tournaments that come in there all the time with people from all over because they're one of the main courts. Emma Russell we had because it was you'd show up and there'd be like 8 cars lined up trying to get out the door fast enough to get the courts in the morning at 6:30. It was crazy time back in the day.
Not saying I'm objecting what you're saying, I'm just saying, population wise, I know that the population of Hooper versus West Haven versus Roy,
Isn't West Haven like 14,000 and we're 9,500?
we're less than that.
About 9,100. That's all in the park.
Have you seen a contract?
No, this is just their bid.
No, not that. I mean, with the county. Not seen it. Okay, once that comes, let's look at that and make sure it doesn't.
Parking, if what you said is they're the ones that kind of are doing it, I don't have a problem using parking. Have they done any other besides those two? Like Plain City just puts them in?
And I didn't specifically ask, once I ended up getting the bids and contacted, I didn't.
It was just, okay.
I know there's somebody here in Hooper that has a company that does this kind of stuff too. I can't remember their name right now, but I don't know.
Well, one thing we need to look at too is the state contractor, we feel a little better for us and certify them when the other company does not.
Okay.
Okay, so that is part of that major grant. The other part of it is the parking lot. And so there is a bid from Staker Parsons, and I received another bid, and Staker Parsons was about, it was about 30,000 less than the other bid, and the other company I asked was never wanted to bid. And Staker Parsons is a state contractor, and they do a lot of work around Vancouver City, and I felt really good that when I looked through it, and my limited knowledge as much as I have, but as far as like the thickness of the road base, the asphalt, talking to Jared, this was in compliance with what Hooper City does, and I felt really good about their bid as well.
How many parking stalls is that? What kind of space is that?
But I have that in my, we did 1 acre, and we added up about how many parking stalls that we ended up putting up. Yeah, I know it's here in the wraparound because I added that in when I told them how many parking stalls we had and how many that was. The parking lot would have approximately 130 parking spots. So currently in our field right now, on our parking, currently we have 70.
Out here.
Parking spots, and 6 had to have accessible, so it would be almost double.
Okay.
I think you're, by the way, great feedback on using the park to use right now.
Oh, and I thought it went
I've
good
had
too.
several people say that they really working.
Yeah. Yeah, we tried it out, not saying I was talking, but we had to do different times in order to meet the health requirements. But we thought it went good, and it went pretty smooth. If we had a parking lot, even better next year, because then cars could, have a little more room to park, but no, so thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Anyway, any questions or anything? Okay, so the next one then is the playground
have a couple concerns on the playground equipment. I'm not seeing the use of the spinner cone. But I do think we are lacking use for handicap accessible swings and maybe a ramp and the teeter-totter part.
Chair.
Yeah, the handicap accessible swings and like a ramp up into like a teeter-totter thing or a bridge or something like that, that I know that up there at the George Wellen Park by the splash pad, they have, just a little area. It's not a whole special abilities, special needs kind of park, but they do have a couple of things where children in wheelchairs or that need to be lifted from a wheelchair into a swing can be sit in those bigger swings, and then there's some places that have the big swing that the wheelchair locks into or whatever.
So like all those all abilities, and I asked him about that, and all those other pages, and then I'll go back and address that. All those other pages I asked him specifically, you know how there's the little animals, and then they have those little panels around them? So I asked him specifically what was on those, if it was something that children would even want to do. And part of those meet our ADA requirements, because they are something that a wheelchair could do with them.
Right.
But he told me how many ADA requirement things we have. We can add on more of the all abilities. I think that would increase our price.
Right.
Because he said they do have some parks that they are that, like the
Right.
all abilities.
Right.
So,
But we don't have that. And so that's why I'm thinking, maybe the cone spinner or, I don't know, something else could be right there. That would probably be, even one little area or one little toy, I guess you could call it, that would allow for that.
and we can
I just had that concern.
certainly ask on that, because there are additional things. But like I say, and I could, if we approve the contractor, then I could get back and ask and then send that out to you for approval of if there was an additional handicap accessible swing.
I mean, I think today's world, and that's trying to be.
So I'm thinking the same thing on this one. Is there options? Rather than just say, okay, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, so he came back and said, you just send us a design, and this is some of their latest things they are doing, a zip line, I don't know if you know or not, the Stafford has a zip line, but they have updated their zip line. There is a park in West Point that has a zip line that is constantly this is the new design, this new spinner park is the new design. They try to do on kind of accordingly to communities, so that's like that in the farm animals. He said this is a new color that they just not very, they're just starting this color that's a little bit different, that's unique. He certainly can design anything you would want. We gave him $100,000 budget, is what we said, because he received $60,000 grant and we would approve $40,000 to go towards the playground. So it was $75,000 for the equipment, it was $20,000 to install it, and then there's $5,000 for the engineered wood chips. But if there's something else, and he certainly, there were several designs we had when we had our rep committee meeting. We had a committee, we kind of passed them around, and these were just some of the favorite type things. And he included like the shade over the swings, which I really appreciated, because it kind of helps. And then with the tunnel slide, if you have the tunnel, it helps with the heat too. Because the park's going to be out here at the playground, and so in afternoon, there will be some shade. In the morning, there will not. I don't know if those trees on the east will shade. This was an example what he said. Yeah. Yeah, so we can certainly, if we approve it, and we can even have him come, if you would want to, or he could send other designs. If that, and you see that on there, delivered, we went with a 16 by 16 price, an installation for that, and so, and it would be, I think we would just do a similar design to this, probably the same colors. One thing we thought about is I went on a little field trip with the mayor out to see Twin Cities pickleball courts, and they have like, there are some picnic benches, I mean, some park benches, a little pavilion, it was great. Because then if you happen to be waiting, or if someone wants to be watching pickleball, so one time I thought about maybe putting this one, just maybe have a budget, now I'm wondering about maybe putting it down by the pickleball courts, that might turn that into kind of a nice little family area, that even if you're not playing pickleball, you still have somewhere to sit. Because it was really nice, wasn't it? Definitely the Twin Cities, it's real inviting atmosphere, the way they have the, cement with some park benches, the little, theirs wasn't as big as this pavilion would be, but this one would probably have, like, well, I can tell you how many, it was like 2 or 3 picnic tables would fit into this one.
So smaller than the small one at the Hooper Park, but,
So it would probably be a little bit bigger than the small one at
Oh,
Silver Park.
okay.
Like the little family
Mhm.
one that's over by the
Mhm.
playground.
Yeah.
But not as big. Our large pavilion at Hooper Park holds 12 tables. The small one holds 8 tables, and the other one has 2 tables.
2, okay.
How about compared to this one?
This one out here, we're going to have 9 tables, which we already have. They delivered those. They're just in the process of being delivered. I know, yeah, I think so, and I think that would be a fun, I mean, it's just really, you have to check right out and look at the Twin Cities, because that was really, I liked that. How it was all there with the, cement and everything. And we applied for 3 easy grants for a $2,000 grant, but one of the things I applied for was picnic tables for this pavilion. So if we get that, we're already set, and I had an insider say something that we did. So. So I told them. So any questions on that? And the other thing then with this grant, this was the benches, and again, there are these benches that we could set in price for that. We thought I can't really know exactly how many benches it was, I looked up the money. But we thought we could do some benches down there, and also maybe put a couple of benches. It was for 4 6-foot benches. So if you wanted to put maybe a couple down there, or a couple here. We also have the Belknap Memorial bench that we already have 2, that we just need to set time for the county to get them installed. We'll ask them.
Better put that by the basketball court.
Right, that'd be-
Probably might want that.
Yeah.
That's what kind of thought, just some places where people are going to come and sit, because the other part has the benches, and I think it works out really nice. Okay, any questions? I know that's a lot. We're almost out of time here, but. Any thoughts? I mean, our main thing, and I guess reason, well, a couple of things. Legally, we need to have you approve these, but second thing, the sooner we can get going on these, the sooner we'll be on the schedule. And if we would really like to be on the schedule, if we could, maybe if not, we'll probably wait until fall, because then they get these with all their schools, but they have no food, and so.
Design something, it's not, it's just our 2 cents on what we like.
Well, and we haven't had, because we haven't had not selected anyone, we haven't had a mistake yet. So if we can tell, if you approve these to have them, then we can even call them and have them come state it. And then we can even look and say, okay, this is good, maybe, or like, we even have the pickleball courts, we can maybe have room if we later want to expand on one side or the other, once it was staked, because we haven't staked anything out yet.
Because you could set it up to say, okay, what would it look like if we expand? What would it look like if we
Yes.
don't?
Yeah.
Right? Well, that'd be awesome, I think. Thanks for your hard work.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you.
maybe a couple minutes. I'd like to discuss on this confirmation of city recorder. Discuss there, or on the, had a chance to review the other position, community development coordinator. It's working. I feel like I'm kind of going in and out.
I thought the resume looked good on their new recorder. I'm impressed.
So I did have some questions on that, but we can talk about it. It's an agenda item, so we can talk about it then.
Right.
I guess
Yeah.
as well, but, I'll just recall some, start with that probably. Yeah, then. Thanks for putting this, position summary together for the Untitled Development Coordinator.
Okay. Kind of review that.
Okay.
Working.
Off and on.
I'm right next to you.
it's because you're turning sideways like this. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got mics for it.
Right.
Should I mouse something?
I think that was on purpose.
It was.
I think that's good. I'm on board with
So you can go ahead and plug your microphone. So it seems like they work.
Plug the mic in.
Well, it needs to be done, so.
And I did listen to the planning commission meeting, and the only one I could not hear was Jared, and I assume he was sitting at that table. Yeah, everyone else, if they spoke clearly, directly into it, that you could hear them, but you could tell when they turned their head, because then it didn't.
Yeah, you just can't turn your head.
Okay, seeing it's 7 o'clock, we would like to call to order city council meeting for April 15th, 2021. And ask Council Member Hill if Pledge of Allegiance, and then following that, we'll have Paulson reverence.
Our dear kind Heavenly Father, we come before this evening at our Hooper City Council meeting and give thee thanks for the moisture that we're receiving. We're grateful for the beautiful country that we live in and the opportunity we have to be free. We ask you to bless us this evening that we, as we discuss the needs of our town and the citizens here, that we might be able to make wise decisions that might help us to grow and to provide for those that we serve. We're grateful for those that serve in our military and ask you to bless and watch over them, that they might be able to return to their families. And we are thankful for all that we have, and we give thee thanks and do so in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Okay, thank you. Had a chance to review the minutes, March 18th, 2021. Questions, amendments, changes? If not, we would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from March 18th.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes of March 18th, 2021 council meeting.
Have a motion from Councilmember Northrup. Second.
I'll second it.
Second from Councilmember Cox. Discussion on those? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This time we have a citizen comment part of our meeting. If there's anyone here that would like to comment towards council members, you're welcome to come up. Okay, seeing none, we'll close our citizen comment part. We'll ask any members of the council, are there any conflicts of interest that need to be disclosed with anything that is listed on the agenda? Seeing none. Our first item of business will be approval of a commercial business license for the Ohana Snow Shack located at 5495 South, 900 West. This request was made by Josh Maragoni. That throws me a little bit. Josh, will, what? Okay.
Josh.
Joshua
I never
Blake.
once called you Joshua. Called you other
Well,
things.
Okay, Joshua Blake, if you would, maybe we'll just have you come up if the council has any questions for you, and we'll just have you yourself and tell us your address.
Okay, I'm Blake Maragoni. I live at 5990 West, 5350 South in Hooper. We're excited to take on a new business here in Hooper. We purchased that from the Wimmers earlier this year, and the final stages of approval for our business license. Serve you guys all some Hawaiian shaved ice.
Based on the address, it'll be located in the same place where the Snow Shack has been previous to purchasing it.
Correct. Yeah, we have no intent on moving it. We feel that it's a mainstay in Hooper, and that's where we want to keep it. So where we're going to operate it from. What's that?
Neighbors can be shady.
Oh,
I've heard the business next to us is a little shady. Yes.
Oh, but it brings you a lot of business.
Yeah. That's the good part. And then, yeah,
Our
for sure.
Councilman Northrup works for dancers, the more phones you sell.
Correct.
I don't have
Any
questions.
questions for me?
Anything different than what it is now? Is it gonna be like way different or the same?
No, it's the same. I
Okay.
built a new porch on the back of it because that one was dangerous looking. And we're adding about 8 flavors. So we'll try
Any
some
more
different
tables
flavors.
or outdoor, like,
Not at this time.
accommodations at
No, we continue to run it as the Wimmers did. So keeping the same footprint, keeping the same everything.
any other questions?
You get a real job.
Kind of hoping I'm not going to have to run it too often. But That's part of running a business. So, yeah, we'll do that.
Okay,
Well, I don't mind making a motion unless there's any other questions. I'll make a motion that we approve the commercial business license for the Ohana Snow Shack for Lake Maragoni.
okay, we have a motion. Second. I guess you were able to see who. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed?
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay, next item of business is to award a bid for a ramp grant under the Arts and Museum grant, which is for historical markers. Are there any other discussions on that? Kind of talked earlier, one of the things we would do is haven't really come up with the location of these markers. Hope they would be in city limits where access them and aware of what historical events have taken place.
That was my question, because I just needed a refresher, like if we had make that decision on the placement, how many were we planning on? 4? Okay. Okay.
I guess my comment on any of this is that the agenda says approval to award the bid, and I guess what I'm understanding we're approving is the contractor we're going to use moving forward, but not necessarily the full.
That's correct.
So that's the only discussion we need to have right now,
Just who's doing it?
is we're going to award that bid, right?
Okay, thank you.
Is this a motion then for each item?
Right, it would be a motion.
Separately? No.
See Ross Studios, Marietta,
Ohio?
Marietta, Ohio.
Okay,
I'll
I'll
second.
second. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Cindy.
Bill was the second. Paulson was made the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed?
I guess just in case there's citizens that just joined the meeting, and I don't think there are, but so they're not wondering what, we just had a long discussion on the contractors that we're going to be looking at for the ramp grants that were awarded. So that's what we're going through right now, because it might be confusing if you just tuned in, like, what are they talking about?
Next item on the agenda is to award a bid for a ramp project of football and basketball courts, as well as parking. Two different groups. In fact, there's not really a ramp
I guess it is
for the
major
parking
grant
lot,
for
but
all of those, right? So it's one grant, 3 contractors, yeah.
The major
I
grant.
think
So 2 contractors. So we approved for Staker Parsons. and
Staker
for,
Parsons and then the
parking.
parking.
You have a negative vote. This isn't an ordinance. Well, it's not even a resolution. You're fine.
I guess if it place a liability on the city of some kind, would that take for vote approval? So I would think, okay, I would think if we're unanimous,
Okay.
cover both. Opposing votes, then we'll.
I'll make the motion that we approve the major ramp grant for the pickleball and basketball courts, no tennis, to Parkin tennis courts for the construction of the courts and to Staker Parsons for the construction of the parking lot.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, next on the agenda is to award the bid for a ramp grant under Parks and Recreation, which would include a playground located here, North Park, pavilion, and benches. Any other discussion on that?
Out through Big T.
Have a motion.
I'll make a motion that we award the bid for ramp Parks and Recreation grant, which includes the playground, pavilion, and benches, to Big T Recreation.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? So each of those were unanimous. We'll now move on to the next item of city business, and that is a confirmation of appointment for a city recorder. So the process requires that when we hire a new person, and this will be to replace Shauna here in the city office, that this comes before the council for confirmation before we award this this person the job. So each of you received a copy of her resume. Her name is Heather Nielsen. And I guess if there's anything that, any personal kinds of things that we discussed about her, we may have to go into a closed session. But if not, just some other things you'd like to visit about, or if you're comfortable having read her resume, then we can also move to the motion to confirm this.
I'm just was curious if someone that was doing the job got to see.
You might want to know, we had a good number of applications. I think we had 7 that came in, at 8. So out of that, we interviewed 4 applicants. The other 4 that we did not interview were just totally
The committee that decides, how does that process go? I mean, do you interview them? Is there a committee that interviews them? How does that go?
I interviewed him and I had Teresa.
So looking at her resume, it looked really good, and it seemed like if everything, as resumes go, if everything's what it says, she should be a rock star, right? I mean, the one thing I was looking at is, it looks like her current job title is Community Development Administrator and Business License Officer. But then I see this, the first bullet point is serve as an interim deputy recorder. What does that mean, interim? Was she served out for a little while?
She subbed in if the deputy or
Could be there.
so
So,
trained her so that she could be.
so she's done these tasks then? 'Cause
Yeah,
that's-
right. She's had experience with this. Yeah, we specifically asked her that.
Wonderful.
Hazel's a lot bigger than Hooper, and they're involved in a lot more things. Yeah. But it sounds like she was involved in a lot of things within the city, so.
I mean, I trust, yeah, I'm same.
Before we interview, have her
So the second was quite a ways down, you're saying?
No. Yeah, second was really close. They just didn't have the same experience,
No?
right?
All right.
How soon can this individual start? Did we?
Could start, she has to give
2 weeks
Kaysville
notice.
a 2-week notice, so she would begin on May the 3rd. And be,
Shauna can stay till July.
well,
Shauna stays till July. We get.
well, just so you know, we have kind of made arrangements, Donna, that she will be available on, at least at one time, she committed to some Saturdays. And she'll make sure that this person that's hired is brought up to speed, not totally, but as best that we can do without her actually coming on board and having some experience right here in Hooper City dealing with.
So the training's in motion.
This is Shauna's last day. She's coming to my city though, so it's a good addition.
One.
What? What?
Oh, so it was your fault.
Well, I didn't have a lot to do with it.
Well, I'll make a motion that we confirm the appointment of, for city recorder, to Heather Nilsson. Need to include more than that?
We have a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to confirm the appointment of Heather Nielsen for the job of city recorder. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
But just for information, if it's a city position, if it's a official position, which certainly the process is that the interviews will be done under the direction of the mayor. Mayor makes the decision as to who feels have the job, then it has to come to the council. You would have the ability almost to veto if you felt, but you wouldn't have the ability to say, we don't like this person, hire them.
Well, sending out this was very helpful, having that application that we could go through to read, so.
Right. Yeah, that was great to have. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that concludes all our items on the agenda. Time when we could have citizens' comments. If anyone would like to take time, we would limit that. State your name and
Right, because we all will, but Sherry Bingham, 4452 South, 5500 West in Hooper. And we just want to give our heartfelt thanks to Shauna. She has been amazing. She has done so much work and has really, besides just being a good worker, she's become a really dear friend. So I'm going to look at her because I can't, but we really want to thank her. And I know you all echo me in saying that. We're just really appreciative of everything that she did. Thank you, Shauna.
Give her a hand.
I just hope it works out and it's the best for you.
Yeah, for sure.
of course, I think everyone, I don't know that everyone's aware. She does live in the White House in Ogden.
Yes, that's true.
White.
We have just a few minutes. Well, maybe some of you may have some questions about this lawsuit that we have in Hooper City. Actually served our legal counsel, and so I'm going to have Reed just take a few minutes and discuss that with you or see if you have any questions.
By the way, service on legal counsel isn't valid, so it could be contested on that. I don't know that it stands. It's been filed by a company called Keystone Development, which thoroughly developed property. Suit is not a money damage suit. It's a suit asking grant request for development. Development, ironically, was on the calendar for consideration by the Planning Commission days after Brandon. And they considered it midway through the discussion. Keystone Development request and asked if time to comply, admitting that they weren't ready for approval. They sued us because we haven't approved, and they asked to be taken off the agenda because they admitted they weren't ready for. The lawsuit has been sent to the insurance trust because they'll provide some cases coverage. They've agreed to take the case, probably because they saw it as a winner. What in the right category, but they'll handle the legal costs, so it won't cost it. My guess is it'll be dismissed on a motion to the fact that they had their hearing now and force the city. Anyway, that's what the lawsuit is. I made a copy. If you want to take a look at it, you're sure welcome.
Reed, my question is where they have gone forward without any sort of approval from the city, blazed a trail out there that's an eyesore and a health hazard to our citizens, laying pipe unapproved, everything's unapproved, obviously. Doesn't the city have some kind of recourse or counter suing or something we can do to that developer since they're so anxious to sue us? Why don't we go after them for unapproved excavation and development and all that kind of stuff?
That's a decision the city could make. Good. They could also decided for not complying with requirements for construction. Initially, their work was pretty minor. It was pipe work, and the claim was that it was. Recently, that's been. Whether it's worth going after them in a lawsuit.
Now, I noticed I listened on the planning commission meeting and they did say they were going to curtail it to
They
handle
have
the
stopped.
dust.
They have stopped activity.
But that's not going to stop the dust.
No.
So something needs to be done. But if we have wind, that's not going to prevent it because they've dug up so much of the dirt. So.
And that's maybe something to look at as times goes on. I think there was an effort to try to work with these folks, try to make it a project. Act the way they have here, it probably would.
Who issues that citation, that fine? Does that come from the city or?
Right back in the back.
Okay. Hey,
Oh, shot guy.
I mean, I would be in favor of that. I don't know about the rest of the council, but I would be absolutely in favor of developers coming in and tearing up our landscape unapproved. I mean, there's got to be some consequences. Yep.
Say, if you're compliant with ordinances, then I support what you're doing, but it appears that we're not there. And it was very evident with his presentation of the ninth that he's not compliant across the board. But I think there was 5 major ordinances in violation, and then 5 or 6 more of the staff recommendations in one fall. So it was just a mess. I would think we need the same board as Brian. That sometimes when people are pushing the envelope, we should probably push back a little bit. If you know, and maybe this is a discussion that should be in a closed meeting, but if you know, what council's advising on advice.
I don't think we decide that here.
Yeah, for sure.
And along the same lines, Mayor and I talked a little bit about the possibility of creating an ordinance where a developer, if they're going to do this kind of thing and excavate extensively beyond just a small 1 acre lot, for example, that they need to come in and apply for a conditional use permit of some kind to excavate to the extent they are on their private property is what they claim they're doing. But there should be some kind of permitting involved in that to move that much material. Same kind of thing going on 4600 over here that's been happening for a year, two years. So I mean, we ought to try and maybe.
Yeah, we may want to a little tweaking to our ordinance just to make it a little.
Yep. Okay.
Kind of going through process anyway.
Yep.
Serve as a city and.
We haven't been actually served ever.
Well, that we were.
They were trying to serve us.
Process.
I guess, as a council member, I'm hoping that there's a clear-cut communication when the city does receive those type of things going on to the city council, just to make sure that when we're out there, and I'm being approached by multiple people, I'm not looking at the deer in the headlights without even knowing what's going on. So just, I mean, I guess my request is, as we move forward, if those situations arise and there is some legality stuff coming on, then the more feedback I think that we can understand what's going on. I mean, that road down there, I live down there, so I'm hit by almost every citizen on that road asking what's going on and why they're allowed to do this. And so when I brought it up, it's like, well, we're not doing this. And then I hear from another avenue, hey, the city's being sued. And so when I've asked about that, we weren't being sued, but then we were, the Ripcord Act or whatever is what they were calling it. And I don't even know what that is. I tried to research that. And
So was the,
So I was just going to comment. So Councilmember Paulson, as soon as I found out about that was happening, I welcomed all members, city council, to come into the city building and be updated on everything that was going on. I sent you that.
We had a meeting on that, and then the meeting was changed and never got rescheduled. And I
That-
asked if we were rescheduling it, and I got no response.
No, what the response you got was, is you're welcome to come into the city building. We would update you on that. And I sent that to every council member. Some responded, and I knew some was out of town, but you had every option to come in and be updated on everything that was going on.
Is there a reason I couldn't have had a response to my email that would tell me what was going on?
Well, that was the response to your email. I sent it to all of you, just like you sent it to everyone.
In some cities, lawsuits are pretty common. Ogden gets sued a lot. You'll get to see a lot of that. Shauna, but here we don't get sued much. So it wouldn't hurt when a lawsuit actually is official to send a note out.
Well, we did notify all of them to be updated.
so I'm just curious about the back door, your back door informant. Was it the developer?
No, someone that knows the developer that said, hey, I already filed the paperwork. And so then when I sent the email out, have we seen it as a city? I didn't get a response at that time. Although then the guy who told me said, the developer said the lawyer had sent the paperwork. So I was confused. And I was like, okay, so either we got paperwork from the developer or we didn't.
It's a little confusing too, because in this case, I think we got notice from insurance trust that we'd been sued before we knew it. What they do is, as an insurance company for many of the cities, they monitor all the filings around the state. They got notice of the lawsuit being filed well before we, as a city, were aware of it. And they actually sent a note.
Brandon, that's where.
Well, I think they sent it to Shauna first and then she sent it over to us.
Yeah, Brandon was really good. I talked to Brandon last Thursday and I appreciated Brandon. Brandon was very forthright and open with me in conversation. We talked about what was going on. I just am a little concerned what comes out of the city offices to the city council, once again, as elected officials to represent the city.
Well, let me make this crystal clear one more time. Councilman Paulson, you, along with all members of the council, were invited to come in the city office and be updated on this. I want to make that crystal clear. Okay.
crystal clear, asked if I could be on the agenda for this item. And I never had one response come back to whether or not I would be on the agenda. So when we're talking about clear communication, Mayor, I sent 2 requests. I asked if you'd like another city councilman to request it with me. I didn't get an answer either way. That's not communication.
So, now wait a minute.
That's
So what are you talking about?
the planner position. When I asked about that, I sent 2 requests. I said, Mayor, and I can read it to you if you'd like. Mayor, I would like this on the agenda. If it requires 2 city councilmen to have this on the agenda, I will have someone else reach out to you. Please let me know the direction you'd like to go. 2 emails, no response.
No, you did get a response.
No, I don't. Show me the response.
Okay, after
Well,
this,
maybe, I'd suggest, since this really isn't related to
all
city
right.
council, let's have this discussion.
okay,
off.
let's do that.
Well,
Are there any other? Well,
council's not being addressed.
I disagree. I can come in here any day of the week and get any information that I want. Oh.
well,
there-
let's go ahead and have, are there any other citizens' comments? Okay, seeing none, covered all the items on the agenda. Have
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
a second? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed?